In my PhD work, which is a research degree, I realized I needed to spend my life researching beyond just writing the dissertation. And so my PhD in MFT, most people don't understand what a PhD in MFT really is about. It sounds like a person's trained to work with marriages and families. And in my opinion, that's true, but only about 25% of my degree. Most of my degree is the science of relationship and researching in that area. In the 1990s, which is often referred to as a decade of the brain, we began to scan the human brain intensely, and after about a decade of brain scan, some of us in research, taking a look at research, we start to realize this is a whole different ball game. It's a different paradigm, and so only way I can describe the impact on psychology is before brain scan, we were operating out of flat earth psychology with notions like individuation, independence, self-autonomy, self-efficacy, self-agency, codependency, differentiation, all kinds of constructs based upon notion that a human is an independent entity. After a decade of brain scanning, some of us in research were forced to realize we're in a different paradigm, because the brain is a social brain, and it is about the relationship that a person is experiencing, is taking that relationship and internalizing it, and when it goes out to other relationships, it's actually carrying memory chips regarding previous relationships and the patterns of those. Of course, when I reference neuroscience things, I want to really humbly acknowledge I'm taking very complex, very nuanced neuroscience, neurobiology, neuropsychological things, and not doing full justice to, but putting them in simple metaphorical terms. I understand that. And the reason why I do that is because I am also a clinical supervisor, and I supervise postgraduate interns, which means these wonderful graduate students who finish their master's degree will have to spend 2,000 hours working under my supervision, and I have to take complex things of the science of relationship and help translate it into practical, clinical, pragmatic approaches. So I've learned to take complex science things, concepts and ideas and research data and so forth, and put them into metaphors and so forth to help organize their work. So decade of brain scans, some of us said, oh my goodness, it's all those self-categories, self-efficacy, self-agencies, that's not what's really going on. It's better understood as self-other efficacy, self-other agency, self-other identity, self-other worth. And who you are is brought to you by being in relationship versus a person going inside of themselves and discovering themselves through self-knowledge. A great case in point is the book of Genesis, a poignant chapter 2 story of creation, the two original binary pairs, Adam and Eve. And you remember the story, some of you may remember the story where God says it's not good that man be alone, in reference to Adam, before Eve is made and presented to him. And which is intriguing, because at the end of chapter 1, after a summary of creation activity and creation span of time or days, the sacred text said, behold, everything was very good. Now that same Hebrew word is used to describe it's not good. And so in theology, we're trained to interpret the sacred text. And we have 2,000 years of science of interpretation. It's a very methodical, exacting science. And when I was trained as a marriage and family therapist, my primary focus was psychoanalysis, object relations, psychodynamic, and the fifth generation psychoanalysis called intersubjectivity psychoanalysis. And in psychoanalysis, we have the science of interpreting the subjective text. And I discovered that whether it's interpreting or exegeting a sacred text, or trying to exegete or understand a personal walking book, a human, because every human is a book waiting to be read and a story to be told. It's the exact same science, step by step by step by step. So unbeknownst to me, I was being trained psychoanalytically through theology, as well as psychology and psychoanalysis, strengthened my ability to look at the sacred text. So brain scan clearly said we need to think of people in relationships. So Genesis 2, God says it's not good that man be alone. Well, at that point, we should send an email to heaven and say, dear heaven, your divine assessment, something not good, could you please fix it? Well, here's a brilliant move on God's part. There doesn't seem to be a fix. Instead, Adam is put to sleep, and some DNA material is extracted from his side, and God, in the story, fashions woman. It doesn't say he created. It says fashioned or made Eve, and then God presents Eve to Adam. And Adam's first words are, bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh, woman, Isha, Hebrew word, Ish, man. It's a nice poetic way to say, there's me. And for me, that confirmed what neuroscience was getting at. The brain is a social brain. It's scanning the relationship and internalizing the experience, creating patterns and rhythms and unconscious models of relationship. So for me, since I'm trained theologically and psychologically, good and honest theology and good and honest psychology fit. Because if theology is trying to reveal or declare reality to us, or truth, and if psychology, through experimentation, we're trying to discover and verify truth, they're pointed in the same direction. So good and honest theology and psychology should come together. But sadly, and I guess it's part of the human condition, human history, there is bad and dishonest theology and bad and dishonest psychology. And my sense is what makes theology and psychology dishonest is when it's politically motivated to enhance or to consolidate a political social position that a group of people hold. Research is a very humbling thing, but very exciting, and it begins with doubt. Doubt is not the opposite biblically of faith. Fear is. Perfect love casts out fear, St. John in 1 John says. Opposite of faith is not doubt. Doubt is an essential beginning point in research. Can that be true? Are you sure? Can we verify that? Can we test that again? Doubt can then move towards skepticism and can end up in cynicism. There is no truth. There's only personal subjective truth. Or it can move from, okay, it can move towards faith and assurance. Okay, I have confidence that we've done enough experimentation that what I believe, what I hold to be true, has validity, not only from the side of theology, as I compare what I'm holding as being truthful, fits with what the sacred text says. And remember, we have an ancient science of interpretation. Anybody can say whatever they want about the Bible and what they suppose the Bible's saying, but there's an exacting science of interpretation that's at least 2,000 years old and probably older, since we inherited the science from the Jewish people. And science, people have been doing science in all kinds of ways long before the Enlightenment period in Europe, which oftentimes is understood as a period of modern science. Well, fair enough. But please tell me that the pyramids didn't require some science and engineering. And please tell me the Great Wall of China did not require exquisite engineering. Humans have been doing science. So good and honest theology and science go together. And that's my passion that I would like to be sharing with you in the times to come. Thanks for hearing me out.